It looked like somebody was bent over and had their head in the window of the deer blind. It either heard me or smelt me, and he pulled his head out of the tent and stood straight up, and that shocked me. They don't make people that big.
The way it moved, almost as if it was gliding across the beach. I've never seen anything move like that in my life. They were screaming at each other in gibberish. It sounded like a language, and they were chuntering away back and forwards, back and forwards, back and forwards. I know what a bear looks like, and there is no way on this planet that what I saw were bears.
What are you reporting?
Jesus Christ, you better...
Sir?
Gia!
Hello?
Get somebody out here.
What's going on now, sir?
That son of a bitch is about 6'9", I don't know.
Do you see him now, sir?
Yes, I'm looking right at him.
Uh-oh.
This is Greg Andrews from Orlando, Florida, and you're listening to Sasquatch Chronicles.
Welcome to the show, everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. Got a great show planned for you tonight. We're going to be chatting with Ed, and Ed's actually a logger. And I met Ed, a couple years back at the International Bigfoot Conference, and him and I started chatting, and he was telling me about this encounter he had up at Mount St. Helens when he was logging. And, Ed's a big, scary guy, and I remember sitting there talking to him, watching him kind of recount this encounter that he had. And he was terrified as he was telling this encounter. And I really wanted to have Ed on the show then, but the time wasn't right. And Ed recently contacted me, and I spoke to him and his wife, and they've both agreed to come on the show. They live in the middle of nowhere. We actually had to do the call via wireless Wi-Fi because there's no cell phone service where they live. But they've lived it's kind of fascinating, they've lived in different places around Washington I would consider hot spots. And they've had a lot of strange things happen to them over the years, and I asked if they would come on and kind of share it. So we'll be going into that tonight. If you've had an encounter and you'd like to be on the show, shoot me an email. My email address is wes@sasquatchchronicles.com. Let's jump into it tonight. I want to welcome Ed to the show. Ed, thanks for coming on.
Thank you, Wes. I appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much for being here. And I know we also have your lovely wife, Angie. Angie, thanks for coming on.
Thanks, Wes.
Yeah, and I know we're going to be chatting about your guys' cabin and some of the weird things going on and around your cabin. Ed, I'd like to start with you, if you would, because I know you actually had a couple encounters in Washington. If you would you just start with the very first one and kind of tell us what you were doing and walk us into it?
Yeah. When I was growing up, I was about 15, 16 years old-ish. And my brother, he's just a year older than me. And we were in Cathlamet, out the Elocum, and you probably know where that is because you're not too far from there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when we got home from school, my brother and I, my dad was already home, and which he never beat us home, ever. He was, he's a logger. And so we'll walk into the house, and he's sitting at the kitchen table, and asked him, "What are you doing home?" And so he said that this is going to lead into something, Wes, but he said that they were up on the landing, this is in Grays River, out Fossil Creek was the road where they were logging. He said the whole crew, they saw what they thought was a bear, kind of like right at the end of the clear cut, And they were watching it, and they said it just stood up on its hind feet, and it was huge. And so the yarder operator, they had company radios. This was for Crown Zeller back in the day. And the yarder operator radioed the main office and told them that it was a Bigfoot, and everyone saw it. The main office said, just shut everything down and go home. So they did. So then when Dad told me and my brother this, we thought, oh, cool. We're tough. We thought we were tough teenage boys and whatever. So we got a couple of our friends together and got some rifles, and we buzzed up there in this just a old international pickup. We knew where the landing was. Back then they didn't have gates shutting everything off. But so we got up there, and there's kind of a triangle road. They call it a shoe fly. And right in the middle, we stopped, we got out, and we're all just standing there with our rifles in our hands, looking like a bunch of idiots. But, and all of a sudden, in the shoe fly area, it was real dense brush, and you couldn't see in there. But this big alder tree, it was probably a 12-inch alder tree, and probably 100 feet tall, just started shaking like a crazy. We all jumped in the cab of that pickup so fast, and we were getting out of there. We were scared to death. But so we didn't see anything. It could have been something, but that's probably what it was. I don't know what else could shake a tree like that. But anyways, we got out of there.
Yeah, especially an alder tree.
Yeah, it was a fairly large. Over there they have big alders, but as you probably know. So anyway, I'm gonna try and do this chronologically. Okay. So in about the same time period, my cousin and her then boyfriend, now husband, they're still married, out in Altoona, which is in Rossburg, which was just a few miles from Grays River. They were going to a party, and a Bigfoot stepped up out of the ditch and just all dripping with water and stopped the car. Just stepped right in front of their car. She was screaming, freaking out, screaming and crying, and he couldn't go. He was driving, her boyfriend. And this is in the late 70s, by the way, like 70, 78-ish, 77. Anyways, so that was another thing. That was about the same time period. And I didn't know about this until, just a few years ago, because I'll tell you about this later, because after I actually saw a Bigfoot, then I started getting kind of obsessed with them and started asking people. I wasn't afraid to ask people and tell people what I saw. But so anyways, let's go forward to
Locoman Lake.
A Locoman Lake. Have you ever heard of a Locoman Lake?
I haven't, no.
It's a freaky place. It's like a real dark place. It's scary. We used to go up there as teenagers. We'd ride motorcycles up there and whatever. I personally never camped at there, but my brother and his friends did. And they camped. What happened is they heard something busting into their little camp area, and it tore their motorcycles up, bent their handlebars. One of the motorcycles was thrown up into a tree, and they were in like 3 different tents to begin with, and then all of a sudden they were all in the same tent, and all they had was like a little .22 rifle. But they were scared to death. And my brother to this day will not even talk about it. He shakes. He was so traumatized. That was just what he told me. I wasn't there, so I don't know. But I'm sure that place is pretty freaky. If you've ever went up there or hear people that go up there, it's a dismal place. Did
they ever get a look at what was tearing up the camp and everything?
No, he won't talk to me too much about it, Wes. I think at one point he said they opened the tent flap or something, but they were peeing themselves. They were all so scared. And I still know 2 of those guys anyways, my brother and another guy that was there. And they were just so scared. And